So, hello everyone. This is Eric from Eric's Drink Whiskey, and I'm here with my good friend Ben Bennett. Ben actually lives, or not anymore lives, but grew up in the same town that I did. We've been friends about as long as Eric and I have known each other. Um, but one thing Ben and I have in common is we both frequent the same liquor store and both happened upon the same Elijah Craig barrel pick. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put these side by side with the regular Elijah Craig small batch and kind of point out what's different and see what we think. But before we get started, Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about what got you into whiskey and what kind of whiskeys you like?
Well, I think whiskey was probably the first hard spirit that I ever really enjoyed. I've always liked the flavor of it cooked into things, or just that taste. So when I became of age, that was kind of something that I naturally got drawn to. When I was in college, I went to the University of Georgia, and when I lived in Athens, my apartment was right next to a really good liquor store that had a really good whiskey selection. And so I think the first bottle of whiskey that I ever legally purchased for myself was a Weller 12 year. And so the guy he was like, "Man, you don't want that. You want this one." And he pointed me to that one, and then it was from there.
Goddamn, why don't you just go ahead and start out with so when about what year was this when you were in college?
So that would have been 2013.
Okay,
14, whatever it was.
that's crazy.
So it was right before it became hard to get.
Yeah. So I don't know
when he got me hooked on it, and then I couldn't get it anymore. I was like, well, "Why did you do this?"
Oh, I know that story. My very first, I've had Woodford Reserve. I bought a bottle of Woodford Reserve probably 2011, and it was just too sweet. And I'm sure you've had some of those that you're just like, man, this is sweet liquor. I did Bullet for a little bit. When I got down here to Gainesville, I found a guy, and his go-to was Henry McKenna bottled in bond. Little squat bottle, really unassuming, but it's a 10-year-old 100-proof single barrel. Heaven Hill makes it. It's actually the same. That's kind of what led to me drinking Elijah Craig. And I got a bottle, and I was like, this is fantastic. And I had about that much left, and I was like, all right, I got to go get another one. And it was the same thing. It was like, where is it? Where is it anywhere? And the year prior, it had won like double gold at the San Francisco Food and Wine Festival, and for $35 for a 10-year single barrel, it just. But no, and then I turned to Eric and I was like, Eric, what tastes like Henry McKenna? And he said, get you some Elijah Craig small batch. So that's why we're here today. So I know you're an Elijah Craig fan, and it's obviously very different from Weller. What kind of draws you to Elijah Craig?
It's a really good. I mean, it tastes good for the price point that it's at. You can afford it, and I can get it anywhere, and I like the way it tastes.
Yeah,
you can't really beat that combination.
No, it's like what, $30?
Yeah.
For so they don't age state it anymore. I know we were just talking before we went on kind of live that this barrel pick is 12 years old, although it's not stated on the label. The small batch actually used to be age stated at 12 years. And then I think a couple years ago, I think they took off the age statement, but generally accepted that it's about 12 years old. No, I think it's got a lot of things going for it. It's an older bourbon. You can find it literally everywhere. It's 94 proof. So if you're somebody like me that likes stuff closer to 100, you're not going to be sad. If you're a new bourbon drinker that doesn't want something hot, I don't think it's going to kill your taste buds. And yeah, it's not going to break the bank. And that's exactly what we want to highlight on this show. But I don't know which one I want to start with. I guess let's start with the original. It's just good bourbon.
Yeah. You really get that vanilla right off the bat.
Yeah,
They get,
I mean,
vanilla.
it's almost like a punch list of bourbon. There's a group of guys on also on YouTube, the Scotch Test Dummies. They've got a great show. But so obviously they're geared more towards Scotch, but they've done a couple bourbon episodes, and they always, the first thing they do when they smell a bourbon, they're like, oh, typical bourbon notes, brown sugar, caramel, vanilla, and just get right on to. But no, that's
it.
It is. It's all right there. Little bit of oak on it too, which I mean you'd expect for something almost 12 years old, around thereabouts. You can't say anything bad about it. Even for 94 proof, I mean, it's still got a fair amount of body to it. You slosh it up on the side of your glass. It's got some good legs coming down. Thing I wanted to see. I was gonna say if it was chill filtered. It doesn't say it's not, which means it might be, but it's got a pretty solid mouthfeel to me.
It comes in. It's it's that classic bourbon, just real smooth with like those vanilla and caramel kind of notes. But then as it sits there for a little while, I can taste some cherries.
And it's got just the right amount of kind of like that oaky tannin, like that kind of dries you out a little bit.
Yeah. There's some heat kind of like in the corners, but it's not killer. Like
it doesn't kill you. It's kind of it sneaks up on you. It's not like immediate, but like I'm 2 sips in, and now finally I'm like, oh, I've had 2 sips of whiskey now. The other thing I like about it, and I Eric and I talk about this with every Heaven Hill product, is you get like this faint note of just old dusty corn, just kind of hiding out in there. Just it's the right amount of sweet. It's the right amount of spice and oak. That's why I love it. That's why I've had to buy several bottles of it. But so this private barrel, this barrel pick, same proof point, 94 proof. It's the same Elijah Craig juice. This just came from one barrel as opposed to being a couple blended together. And again, we have no way of showing it, but we've seen the certificate. We know that this is 12 years old. It was barreled in 2008. Yeah, 8, because that math works out. So the thing that jumps out at me right away, I get it's like a brighter, like a more, I don't know if it's fruit or floral.
Like a little bit of both, kind of like a eucalyptus a little bit. And then there's orange in there.
Yeah, like a bright kind of citrus. Definitely still got the vanilla, but like those kind of those round like caramel notes aren't there. It's kind of a more of a bright.
Yeah, a little fruitier. I can still smell it, kind of like in the bottom of it.
Yeah, I mean it's still there,
but it's brighter and there's citrus. The taste of this one's funny to me because it's got more of that oak that kind of sticks out. Like the other one doesn't have that. Like it's there, but this one sticks out a little bit more right up front.
It's not as immediately sweet. Yeah, you're right. It's got a lot more of that kind of oaky dryness. It's got a little bit more heat to it too. And yeah, it's definitely got some like the citrus and it's real oaky forward. It doesn't have like that black pepper spice that the original does, and it's not as right up front sweet.
it's a little, I don't want to say creamy is not the right word, but it's kind of like more finished and mellowed out. But at the same time, it's got like it sticks out a little bit more.
I think that's definitely what I think. It's got a more balanced flavor. You don't have your sweet and then your oak.
Mm-hmm.
It all just kind of oozes together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going back to the original, it's like a syrup bomb with like black pepper shoved in it. That's crazy. Of course, I think like you, I've drained my share of bottles of regular Elijah Craig. I've had a fair amount of pours out of this barrel pick. I've never put them side by side though, and it's almost crazy how different they are.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
I mean, color, they're the same. It almost makes me wonder, like, what the other barrels tasted like. I mean, it just goes to show, like, the volatility of a single barrel pick, because you're at the mercy of like one person or like one or two people's taste buds, versus a small batch where they have a certain flavor profile they're going for. So they're going to dump as many oaky barrels and as many sweet barrels and as many peppery barrels in it as they need to get those levels right. Now here's the question. Which one do you like better? There's no wrong answer.
I mean, I like the single barrel a lot. It's just for me personally, I kind of like the it's kind of mellowed out, a little bit less of that sweet up front. I like it a little more, a little bit more of that spice kind of present. I mean, it's not spicy by any means, but it's just kind of like it's not as sweet. But I like them both.
Oh, I love them both. But I have to agree with you. I never in a million years would have considered Elijah Craig a sweet bourbon.
Yeah. That's the
and
thing.
Again, that's what drew me to it. Was it's oakier and it's got more of that rye bite than Woodford Reserve or your other run of the mill find off the shelf bourbons. I don't want to call out Brown-Forman, but no, I think you hit it on the head. It's all the same flavors, but they're more mellow. It's not as like sweet right up front. It's not as peppery. It's got a little bit more oak, I think. It's the winner. I think it's the winner.
It is to me. I like it.
So I think, in my opinion, whiskey has always been, and probably always will be, about sitting back, sipping, and sharing good times with friends and family. And I think that's just what we've done here today. For those of you out there, if you have not yet, please give us a follow on Instagram. It is @EricsDrinkWhiskey. Hit that subscribe button and give us a like and turn on notifications so you can know when we have new content drop. With it being National Bourbon Heritage Month, we are going to be airing all kinds of special stuff throughout the month to highlight the history of bourbon, America's native spirit. But Ben, I've enjoyed getting to hang out with you. It's been a hot minute since we have seen each other. So getting to sip some good old Elijah Craig and shoot the shit for a little bit's been fun. But for those of you out there in YouTube land, until next time, cheers.
Cheers.